Stop giving them the reaction they are starving for. When you weaponize silence and sever the link between provocation and response, you become a void that no one can manipulate. By adopting a clinical neutrality, you destabilize social hierarchies and turn their emotional desperation into your ultimate leverage for dominance. That is the essence of what we are going to break down today, and I am calling it the cold discipline. This is not about being rude, antisocial, or passive. It is about moving through the world with a level of psychological sovereignty that makes you untouchable. If you are tired of being pulled into emotional chaos, tired of being manipulated by guilt trips or outbursts, then stay with me because we are covering the 5 rules that will allow you to detach and dominate any room you walk into. Rule number 1 is to internalize the concept that your emotional state is a currency, and you need to stop spending it on people who are not paying interest. Most people operate under a flawed assumption that authenticity means broadcasting every flicker of emotion that crosses their face. If you are annoyed, you show it. If you are hurt, you let them see the crack in your armor. But in the context of power dynamics, that is essentially handing someone the keys to your internal operating system. When you react, you give the other person a map of your weaknesses. The first rule of cold discipline is to implement a mandatory delay between stimulus and response. When someone says something designed to provoke you, whether it is a passive-aggressive comment in a meeting or a blatant insult in a social setting, you do not respond immediately. You pause. You let the silence hang in the air for 3, 4, sometimes 5 seconds. In that silence, you are not thinking of a comeback. You are observing them. You are watching their micro expressions, watching their confidence waver as they realize their verbal dart hit a wall of concrete. That silence is you reclaiming the frame. It tells the room, I am not a puppet and you are not the puppeteer. By mastering that pause, you shift the power dynamic from reactive to observant. And in any hierarchy, the observer always holds more power than the performer. Rule number 2 is to master the art of clinical neutrality, which means separating factual observation from emotional judgment. The hook mentioned weaponizing silence, but it goes deeper than just being quiet. It is about adopting the demeanor of a scientist studying a specimen. When someone tries to drag you into an argument, they are expecting you to take the bait by defending yourself, explaining yourself, or matching their emotional intensity. Cold discipline rejects that entirely. Instead of saying, I can't believe you would say that, that hurts my feelings, you shift to, that's an interesting perspective, delivered with a flat, unaffected tone. Instead of getting pulled into a circular argument about who is right or wrong, you simply state, I see it differently. And then you stop engaging. You become a mirror that reflects their energy back at them without absorbing it. This is psychologically devastating to someone who is trying to manipulate you because they are feeding off your emotional friction. If you refuse to provide that friction, they are left holding a hot coal with nowhere to put it. They will often escalate, getting louder or more ridiculous, but in doing so, they expose themselves. In a room full of people, the one who remains calm while the other loses control automatically wins the perception battle. You do not have to win the argument. You just have to maintain your composure. Clinical neutrality is your shield. Let them exhaust themselves beating against it while you remain still, watching, and waiting for them to reveal their true intentions. Rule number 3 is to understand that detachment is not indifference. It is strategic prioritization. People often confuse cold discipline with being a sociopath or not caring about anyone, but that is a misunderstanding. Detachment means you care deeply about your mission, your goals, and your inner peace, but you refuse to let external chaos hijack that focus. Think of it like a stoic philosophy in motion. You are not trying to control other people, because that is impossible and exhausting. You are only trying to control your own response to them. When you stop needing people to like you, stop needing them to understand you, and stop needing them to validate you, you become free. This is where dominance truly begins, not from aggression, but from a lack of need. A person who needs approval is easy to manipulate. A person who is comfortable with being misunderstood is nearly impossible to destabilize. So when you enter a room, whether it is a business negotiation or a family gathering, you set your internal anchor. You ask yourself, what is my objective here? If your objective is to close a deal, then getting into a heated debate about politics is a distraction. If your objective is to enjoy your dinner, then engaging with a toxic relative who wants to start drama is a self-sabotage. You simply do not attend every argument you are invited to. You learn to say no with your presence, or even better, you learn to simply look at them with a slight, almost amused curiosity, and then redirect your attention to something more valuable. That act of redirecting attention is a subtle but profound display of dominance because it communicates that they are not significant enough to disrupt your state. Rule number 4 is to leverage silence as a weapon for interrogation and pressure. Most people are terrified of silence. They feel the need to fill it with chatter, explanations, or jokes. In the cold discipline framework, silence is where you extract value. When you ask a question, do not fill the space after it. Let them sit in the discomfort of answering. For example, if you are in a negotiation and you state your terms, do not immediately justify why your terms are fair. Just state them and then go silent. The other party will often start talking just to relieve the tension, and in doing so, they will concede ground or reveal information they did not intend to share. The same applies in social manipulation attempts. If someone makes a snide remark about you, do not defend yourself. Instead, look at them with a neutral expression and simply say, "What do you mean by that?" And then wait. Watch them backpedal. Watch them try to explain the joke. Watch them realize that their attempt at a power play has turned into them having to defend their own rudeness. Silence forces the other party to take responsibility for their actions. It removes your role as the defender and puts them in the role of the explainer. That is a massive reversal of the power dynamic. You are no longer on trial, they are. By mastering this, you become the person in the room who controls the tempo. Fast reactions belong to the anxious. Slow, deliberate silence belongs to the dominant. Practice this until it becomes instinctual. When you feel the urge to fill a void with nervous laughter or justification, shut your mouth and simply wait. The person who is most comfortable with silence is the person who holds the power. Rule number 5, and this is the one that ties it all together, is to cultivate an aura of unshakable self-sufficiency. This is the ultimate form of detachment because it means you have built a life so internally solid that no one can threaten you with withdrawal of their presence. Why do people react emotionally to provocation? Because deep down, they are afraid. They are afraid of being rejected, afraid of losing status, afraid of being abandoned, or afraid of being seen as weak. When you eliminate those fears by genuinely knowing that you will be fine whether this person stays or goes, whether this room accepts you or rejects you, you become immune to psychological warfare. You dominate not by trying to look strong, but by being so rooted in your own value that you do not need to prove anything. This is where the concept of the void from the hook comes into full effect. When you stop reacting, you become a black hole for their manipulation tactics. They try guilt. You feel no guilt because you know your boundaries are valid. They try anger. You remain calm, and their anger looks foolish by comparison. They try the silent treatment. You enjoy the peace and go about your day, which is the one thing that drives someone using the silent treatment absolutely mad because they realize they have no leverage over you. You have to build that foundation outside of social settings. It comes from discipline in your health, your finances, your purpose, and your solitude. When you know you are the prize, you stop begging for validation. When you stop begging, you start being chased. And when you are being chased, you are in a position to set the terms of every interaction. That is cold discipline. It is a lifestyle of quiet, unbreakable confidence that speaks louder than any outburst ever could. So to bring it all together, remember these 5 rules. 1, delay your response to break the stimulus reaction chain. 2, adopt clinical neutrality to deprive manipulators of the emotional fuel they need. 3, detach strategically by prioritizing your mission over the need for approval. 4, use silence as a weapon to apply pressure and extract truth. And 5, cultivate an unshakable self-sufficiency that makes you immune to rejection or abandonment. This is not about becoming a cold, empty shell of a person. It is about becoming a fortress. It is about choosing when, where, and to whom you grant access to your emotional world. When you master this, you don't just enter a room, you occupy it. People will feel your presence before you even speak because they will sense that you are not someone who can be rattled, bought, or baited. You become the reference point of stability in chaotic environments, and naturally, power flows to the person who cannot be moved. If this video hit home for you, if you are ready to start building that unshakable foundation, then you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Do not wait. Do not scroll past. Join the MachPsyche community, because this is the place where we dissect the psychology of power, self-mastery, and the cold, hard truth about how to navigate a world that is constantly trying to pull you off your center. Subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and commit to becoming the version of yourself that cannot be manipulated. I will see you in the next one. I